A triad will always have 3 notes, and we give each of the 3 notes of a triad its own unique title or its own unique name. Let me show you an example of this and show you how this works. And let me start by making a triad on the note G. And I think the easiest way to think about this is to think about building this triad as a third above the bottom note and a fifth above the bottom note. That third and that fifth way that we had of thinking about a triad. So we're going to start on G, and we want to first find a third above G. So let's go up here and let's figure out what is a third above G. So we start with G1, A2, B3. So B is a third above G. And now let's find the fifth above G. So we start at G, we go G1, A2, B3, C4, D5. So D is a fifth above G. All right, so that creates a perfectly correct triad. Now, let me rewrite this triad over here just so we see it a little bit uncluttered. And let me tell you the name that we give to each of the notes in the triad, or the title that we give to each of the notes in the triad. This note that we start on, the note that we build the triad on, the note that we calculate all of the other notes from, is known as the root. So we say that the root of this chord is G. We say the root is G because that is the G is the note from which we figure out or calculate all the other notes of the chord. The note that is a third above the root we call the third. The note that is a fifth above the root we call the fifth. So, in this chord, the G is the root, the B is the third, the D is the fifth. That seems pretty easy. Let's try this with a couple of other triads just to sort of make sure that we understand how this works. And let me erase up here. Okay, so let's take a triad. Let's start a triad on C. Let's do the octave above middle C just to change things up a little bit. So here is C. And again, let's think about this as the third followed by the fifth above the note. So C, by the way, since we're starting on C, since that's the note from which we are calculating all the other notes, C is going to be our root. So now what do we need? We need a third above the C. So what is a third above the C? We go C1, D2, E3. So E is going to be a third above C. And then we need a fifth above C. So we're going to go C1, D2, E3, F4, G5. So G is going to be the fifth above C. Let me again write this over here, just so we have a nice uncluttered chord to look at. So the names of each of these notes, or the titles of each of these notes in the chord, are going to be the root, which is the C. The E is going to be the third of the chord. And the G is going to be the fifth of the chord. And this makes sense, doesn't it? Because obviously the root is the thing that we build everything on. The third of the chord is that note that is the interval of a third above the root. And the fifth of the chord is going to be the note that is the fifth above the root. So this all seems pretty easy and almost really obvious. Let's just try one more, just to be absolutely sure. And let's do a triad starting on, B. We haven't done a triad starting on B yet. So I'm going to go down here to the B below middle C. And again, we're going to think about this as being a third followed by a fifth. So we start on B. Here's B. And we need a third above B. So we go B1, C2, D3. So D is our third above B. Here's our third. Then we need a fifth above B. So we go B1, C2, D3, E4, F5. So F is going to be our fifth above B. B, D, F. That gives us a perfectly well-formed triad. Let me again write this triad out over on the side. So our root is B. Again, because that is the note from which we are building, from which we are calculating and determining all the other notes of the chords. The D is going to be our third, because that is the note that is the third above the root. And then the F is going to be the fifth, because that is the note that is the fifth above the root. Again, this all seems incredibly obvious and really, really simple. And it is, but it's going to get a little bit more complicated in just a moment, because the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be mixing up the order of the notes in the triad. And that's going to complicate things a little bit. So that is what you have to look forward to in the upcoming video.